Welcome back, folks, to the WP-Tonic show. It's episode 379. We've got a great guest. We've got Daines-Hutt with us from AMP My Content, and we're going to be discussing how to use content marketing the right way to get traffic to your membership e-learning website where you've got your great course. Unfortunately, I haven't got Cindy with me. She's on holiday. She's deserted me this week. But I'm sure me and Danelle will have a great discussion. Danelle, would you like to quickly introduce yourself to the listeners and viewers?
Yep. So thank you very much for having me. I'm an Englishman living in New Zealand. Been traveling for a while. A bit of a psychology marketing nerd. I used to write a lot about paid advertising. The articles I would write would do incredibly well. We've had the top 10 content of all time on inbound.org, which is a marketing forum. Top content of last year and the year before on GrowthHackers, like the top 10 articles, things like that. So with myself and my partner, Freya, we started teaching people how to actually write effective content, not just how to write, which is obviously a skill in its own, but how to write content that will actually bring people in, convert them, but then scale up traffic. So we've had content shared by the CEO of Microsoft, Ryan Deiss, Neil Patel, Susan Patel, all these people. And we did that with just 8 articles in 2 years. So we're talking about just doing effective content, so we're not stuck in that hamster wheel all the time. But that's what I do.
So I thought Danelle would be a great person to have a discussion because it's a difficult subject, and also he runs his own membership site, so he can give insights on that as well. So before we go into the main interview, I'd like to mention one of our great sponsors, and that's Kinsta Hosting. And Kinsta only hosts WordPress websites. You know that I'm a total WordPress junkie, and so is Kinsta. Big enough to have all the technology that you require, small enough to still care. Basically, they use Google Cloud Hosting, but they provide their own interface. And the main thing is they provide superb support 24/7. And if you're looking for a website for your membership website or your course website or for e-commerce, you need something better than normal share hosting. And that's what you get with Kinsta. And a lot of people start off with a membership site and they hit a lot of technical problems. And a lot of that is that they're with crap hosting. So you don't get that with Kinsta. You get one click backup, you get staging site, and you get access to their superb support staff. So if that sounds interesting, go to kinsta.com, give them a Twitter, give them a shout out saying that you heard them on WP-Tonic. They've been sponsoring the show now for over 2 years. They're just a great partner. So, Danelle, how do we start this conversation about people think, oh, I just write content, I'm in a niche area, I start knocking out some content, I'll start driving traffic to my membership course website, and they don't get fantastic results. Where they're going wrong?
Honestly, I think humans, how we learn really is we replicate what we see. And the issue being that we replicate sometimes the wrong things. So almost all the websites that we're reading online are usually news and media sites, and they're paid for eyeballs on adverts. That's their business model. And so they're constantly churning out content because if you go back 10 times a day, they get paid 10 times every time you go back. Likewise, their audience. So they're all about bringing the same person back again and again and again. For a business model, for a small business, or an agency, or if you are a membership site, you don't need that many interactions with your audience. So you create all this content replicating a different business model. And so that's the issue is, one, we're stuck in this thing where we think we need to be creating so much content. And two, because we're doing that, we get into it, we get on the hamster wheel, we start churning stuff out, and then we throw it out and we get on the next thing and the next thing, and it's not having any impact. And so rather than, in reality, if you've got 100 members, you're better off taking the content that converted those people and talking to 100 more than you are writing something new for those same 100 people who've already converted, because you're just entertaining them then, if that makes sense.
Yes, in a way it does. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're actually going out and saying, okay, like if you've worked in sales, like in face-to-face or in retail or something like that, you almost always have the same conversations to make the sale. There's normally certain pain points and interests and desires, and then they want to buy. So a big benefit of content is having those conversations, but putting it into content so you're not having to repeat yourself all the time, and then getting it in front of other people. A lot of people treat content just as a traffic source, which it can be. But imagine if Google dies tomorrow and a new platform comes up and things, and everyone starts at zero. A lot of the content you've got out there is not going to be beneficial to help you make a sale, things like this. So I normally find that either people are stuck in this hamster wheel, or they have content that gets them traffic but no sales, or they have sales but no traffic. So you normally find there's two different businesses like that. So paid ad guys traditionally really good at making a sale, terrible at creating an asset. So they don't have anything there to actually grow or automate or scale. The inbound guys, really good at writing, really scared at going out there and talking to people. And so the content can bring people in, but often it's not converting. It's not actually pushing people towards a sale, things like that. So these are the big issues I see that people have.
Right. So what I get from your introduction is, are you talking that you're better off going deep on a subject than skimming or going shallow on a number of subjects? And also, are you saying that the actual, if you do go deep, is, yeah, it's great educational content, but it doesn't really drive people to actually buy the course, buy into the membership site, and you've got to combine the two together? Are you saying that?
To an extent. If we look at why people buy, and again, I was saying before, I was listening to your episode with Simon, and Simon's talking about copywriting and things like this and understanding your audience. Why people buy is they have to have a pain, they seek some kind of transformation. That's why they buy what you have. And so they have to have trust and trust in you, trust in the product, all these different things. Online, it's very difficult to build that up because it's so easy for someone to just click off or click to a new page or click to a competitor and things. So content is great at building trust and authority and reciprocity and stuff like that. But usually people are missing certain content assets. So case studies, for example, a lot of people will have content for traffic, but they don't have anything that actually helps to convert someone to becoming a customer. You know, like that. They don't see, oh, that person's just like me. They got the results that they wanted. I want to buy. All you ever see is a testimonial on a sales page for like 2 sentences. So it's about having those kind of assets. But again, it's also, we want to write content that's in depth because we almost want to have this one conversation with this person in this piece of content. We don't need to have 10 conversations with them that are just skimming the surface and never really having any depth and taking them on that journey. We need to actually help move them from A to B to C to D so that they're ready to become a customer. So we can do that with longer content because it's very difficult to do with shorter. And when it becomes longer, it's usually more in depth. It shows authority. It's more likely to build SEO links and things. And it's also much easier to get opt-ins and subscribers from.
I'm going to throw a little ball to you about WP-Tonic. I have a professional content writer that I work with. She's been working with me for over a year now, and we're in the niche of, we provide a WordPress solution to people who want to build a course online, and they want the flexibility of WordPress. But they don't want the hassles that sometimes comes with using open source software. So we can build from the ground up, or we can build a semi-custom solution, and we offer a do-it-yourself turnkey solution as well. So I choose subjects, I research subjects and give a list of 4 topics subjects. And then she writes 2 articles a month for me, and then I add a little bit to them. And they're normally around 1,500 and 2,000 words a month around subjects that would be of interest to people that are looking to build a course online. Where am I going wrong, Daines? Because I'm getting results, but I probably could improve it. And by this conversation, what I'm doing is classically what you would say is not the right thing to do. Would I be correct in that?
Yeah, it's not that it's totally incorrect. Things like this, it's, excuse me, sorry. It's just, I'm a real big nerd for kind of the smart, lazy levers, finding the 80-20 in the things that we do. So a big part is making the content more effective. And so sometimes it can be, if you've got a professional writer, then it's attracting people who are reading it and it's in depth and stuff. You've also got a pretty good SEO profile. So you're going to rank for things almost straight away as soon as you write them. If we can improve, so everything that we do, every article, every advert, there should always be a call to action. There should be always something that we're asking the reader to do, something to take.
I definitely don't do that.
Yeah. So many people miss this. Going back to Simon's interview, he was talking about TV ads. And so many of them forget to mention which company they are, and they don't have a call to action in ads. It's huge. No one does this. So industry standard opt-in rate, people coming to a website and opting in, is less than 2%. My lowest opt-in rate is 17%. And I have an article right now, which is 86%. So 86 out of 100 people become a subscriber when they read it, which is insane. Admittedly, it's quite new. 600 people have read it, 580 have opted in, kind of thing. So it'll go down over time. So having a better conversion.
But I want to, obviously, where does that audience, is that a pre-warmed audience? Is that audience that's been driven through an email list or some other warming process? Or is that people that are cold to the actual article in yourself?
People who didn't know me 10 minutes before.
Right.
Sometimes people who are even experts in the industry who are my competitors. So right. They're coming across and opting in and things like that. So if you've got content like that that's more effective, a lot of people will focus on double traffic, but double conversion rate is the same result. And sometimes it's a lot easier to get a better opt-in rate than it is to go from 10,000 to 20,000 visitors a month, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So if we improve that across the board, it's going to be so much more effective. Talking about content as well, it really helps if when you create content, if you create it in a series. If we look at TV shows and things, why we keep going back and watching TV shows is because they have an overarching theme. And we know who they are. We know what we're going to get when we go across there. You look at a lot of digital agencies, they might talk about paid ads one day and SEO the next. And they might be amazing at both. But because they flip-flop from one to the other, we don't know who they are. We don't know where they've planted their flag. So if someone recommends, say, hey, what's a good SEO blog? They recommend someone else who's positioned themselves as that. So all the content needs to be about a particular topic, but then it even needs to niche down again. So let's say you did an entire series about different LMS platforms and the pros and cons, and you showed how to build a course on all of them. And it's like, this one is Lifter, and this one is Zippy, and this one is, going through them all. So stuff like that as well. So when you're actually producing content, you're getting people back and coming in again and again and again. Also, creating content, people often talk about content funnels, top of funnel, middle, bottom. Talking to people who are cold, talking to people who are warm, talking to people who are hot. All that really is, it's a sequence of conversations. So it's like if you were to talk to someone brand new, you probably get a lot of listeners who have a business model with no course whatsoever, but it could be an extra income stream to their business. So they're really cold people. They don't even know that it's a problem and it's an opportunity. So talking to them about the opportunity, then talking to them about how to share their skills, talking about how to set it up, talking about how to do it custom or how to film it yourself. All things like that would take someone from very cold to becoming a customer, especially if you've got calls to action at each point. You're gonna sell far more services at the end than you would at the start. So it's about these kind of things as well, like being strategic about that. But I do apologize. Like I said at the start, it's 5 a.m. here and I'm on my second coffee. So I will go on a couple of tangents. It's also ridiculously hot and I've got all the fans off because we're on the other side of the world.
Oh, you're a champ. I really appreciate you coming on the show. We're going to go for our break, folks. When we come back, we're going to delve some more in this really important aspect of owning a membership or building a successful course online, folks, content and getting people to your website and then converting them. It's rather important, isn't it? We'll be back in a few moments, folks. We're coming back. We've had a great. I've enjoyed the conversation. I feel a bit lonely without Cindy, but she's a traitor. No, she isn't. But she deserved a break, especially from me. I would imagine you agree with that, listeners and viewers. But there we go. So, this is. I also think you made a great point there just before we went for our break, Daniel, around. To build a series of posts of content, and that's something I will consider. Now, before we go into more kind of specifics in the second half of the show, what do you think, like Brian Dean's skyscraper, technique of looking for articles that are getting good traffic and then improving, just adding more value to a competitive article that you produce? Do you still think that has value in 2019, or do you think that's been exhausted?
It totally works, but okay, let me give an example. In sales, you have 3 types of salespeople. You have people who make an offer, who are just the basic people. You have people who make an offer, you say no, they listen to the reasons why, and then they try and reframe the objections. So these are good salespeople. The best salespeople are ones that pre-frame the problems in advance. And so when that person comes to make a decision, they're much more likely to buy. That, as well as content, comes down to research. So skyscraper technique is basically looking for content out there that's getting traffic, people have done keyword research on, finding something that's getting a lot of traffic but really isn't that good, and then improving on it so that you can get that traffic. Now that's good, but at that point, you're only being the kind of salesperson who's going out retroactively, trying to find those objections. It's a good method, but if you're in touch with your audience and you're doing research, you can start to find content that's about to trend and start ranking for it before it even becomes a thing. So you are that blue ocean strategy kind of person. So the biggest difference I see between people who do really good content and really good adverts is they have their finger on the pulse. They're listening to what their audience says. And so sometimes you can be better off spending an hour just going through forums and listening to the audience than you would writing a new article on a topic that you think might,
Yes, I think that's a great point. Thank you so much for that. Where does video fit in? Because mixing video with copy, and your thoughts around video in 2019.
Video is incredibly effective. I would often say, if you have 2 versions, if you have a long form sales page and you have a video, if the copy is proven, then usually the video will outperform. So let's say you've got a sales page that already works and you make a video version. Usually it will outperform because there's less barrier to entry. People start watching and then they convert. It's why webinars and things do really well also, because they're hooked in and they continue to watch. The only issue being, not everyone is great in front of a camera. Sometimes well, all the time, you have to test and improve an advert or a sales copy to make it the best performing. And if you start out with video, then that means, okay, well, now we have to create a new version and another version and another. So I'm not opposed to video at all. It's just usually you're better off creating a text ad or a text sales page. And then once you've found a winner, improving on it by adding video to it and tweaking. That's the advice I would give, because otherwise you've got to get in a studio, create all these variations, test all these different things. I think a lot of people jump straight into it because even if you've got bad copy in a video, it can still convert pretty well. But I would rather, again, find the best possible variation. So if I send it to 100 people, rather than a bad video converting 10 just because it works well, suddenly it converts 25 or 30, kind of like the Harmon brothers do with those guys who do all the comedy videos for Squatty Potty and things like that. So that's good copy already. You can tell that's been tested with a focus group before they even actually recorded the actual video, you know? So.
Right. Difficult, you know, because I think you've given some good, really tips and actionable ideas in our conversation so far. And I really appreciate you doing that, because it can, I'm struggling for the right word, and I don't normally struggle. It can be a little bit vague, the topic that we're discussing in general, even though it's extremely important. So you talked about, is there a methodology, a set of principles that you personally and your partner adhere to when you're planning and writing a piece?
Yes. So like I said, there's different content that gets sales and things or builds trust. There's content that does well in Google and things. So when I'm writing a piece, I will usually ask myself, what is the end goal? Who is the reader, and what's the action I want to take? Because that's going to make it so much easier. If you're only ever doing keyword research, the reality is your goal is to rank for that term. That's it. You just want organic traffic. Sometimes you don't even think about, well, will that traffic even convert? Are they my audience? So when we're writing a piece, we ask that at the start. So I just did this huge guide. It's a 30,000 word, 8-chapter guide. It's designed to kind of come into this content marketing industry and just kick the doors down. So it's designed to build a lot of trust. It's super actionable because I want people to convert and take an action. So it gets an 86% opt-in rate. So that's our main goal. But the reality is it's very easy to promote and build a lot of backlinks too. So an SEO perspective. The reason I'm saying this is if you know your goal, you can pick the archetype to suit. So you can say, I'm not getting enough sales. I'm getting a lot of people who are converting and they're getting close to the sales page, but they're not buying. What could it possibly be? But it could be a trust issue. So why don't we create a case study, kind of a how-to guide case study in advance? So rather than, let's say you've got a guide of how to set up a course on Lifter LMS, which is a how-to, which is great. It's going to get a lot of links and stuff. How do we get more people to buy? Okay, well, let's do a case study or a hero study where we say this reader followed this guide. They got these results. They went from working for a business and it was a side hustle, and now they're getting $10,000 a month or whatever. Here's their life before, here's it after, here's how it changed and set up. Suddenly we have emotional connection with something like that, and we're more likely to take that action and either hire your service or buy from you. Again, depends on your goal and which archetype. Then when we're writing content, the way people consume information, the way our brain works, goes in 3 stages, how we filter information. So it's important that we use certain things at certain points to get that information across, which is why you can use templates and things to actually present information. A big one in copywriting is the BAB sequence, before, after, bridge. It works so well because we're working on our lizard brain is the first thing that gets information. And it's just fight or flight, sex, survival, things like this. So when we talk about the before state, it appeals to people because we're talking about a pain or a problem or a threat that they have right now. So straight away they pay attention. Then we talk about the after state of where they want to be when that's removed. So now they're listening, and then we bridge into how that happens. So for introductions, that works ridiculously well in content. So I'm sorry, it's a long-winded answer, but yes, we always have a particular goal in mind, a particular archetype that we'll use for that goal. And then it's pretty much paint by numbers where we put certain things in the content and improve. A lot of people think their content needs to be amazing the first draft that they put on paper, but in reality, as long as you've got something that follows a structure and then you edit and edit and edit and improve, suddenly then it becomes more effective.
I think that's great. We're going to wrap it up now, folks. Hopefully Daines going to stay with us for a little while for our bonus content before he melts away. He's struggling with the heat. But Daines, how can people find out more about you, your words of wisdom, and what you're up to at the present moment?
So I'm quite hard to get hold of, really, because I'm a big fan of Cal Newport's deep work. So I remove all distractions and just get on with specific big lever actions. So you can find me at ampmycontent.com. It's everything we're talking about is guides and case studies and ultimate guides and things about how to leverage content, how to make it more effective. We've got a couple of guides on there right now where we talk about how to improve the opt-in rate. So that'd be a pretty good one I could send to your writer so you could get specific higher opt-in rates. We have another one, hugely in-depth guide about how to run paid traffic so that you can actually start to scale it out so that you're not always doing the outreach yourself. So that's all there. If you want to find me on Twitter, it's at inbound ascend, ASCEND. I always say this though, it's just kind of what music I'm listening to today while I'm writing and pictures of my cat. So it's like, you're not going to find much on there. But yeah.
Oh, at least you got your cat on there. Yeah. So thanks so much, Daines. Like I say, if you want to know more about WP-Tonic and our services, go to the WP-Tonic website. We've got some fantastic articles all around giving you information if you're looking to build that first membership e-learning course website and you're looking for a partner and advice. We've got an enormous amount of value on the website. And we got this podcast every Wednesday. Tell your friends. I think it's a fantastic resource if you're looking to build that first course. And we'll be back next week, hopefully with my co-host Cynthia, and she will be refreshed. We'll see you soon, folks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
So on to the bonus content. I'm going to give you a little challenge here. Let's think of, let's think somebody is looking to get into nutrients, a very highly competitive area. So they're going to have to find a niche. So let's say that they're going to target women of a certain age. Let's say women over 50.
Yeah.
That are still a very active lifestyle, and they want to appeal to provide nutrients and supplements to women over 50 who want to maintain a very active lifestyle, skiing, bike riding, yoga, whatever. They're very active ladies and they're looking for help to keep their activities because it's part of their lifestyle, what they see themselves as, and they want to continue as long as possible in those activities. So you had a client come to you saying that they're in the middle of building these products. I understand you can get companies to help you build the actual physical products that you're going to distribute, but they're worried about how they're going to target that particular niche, that particular group. How would you approach that initially?
So
it's only a small question, isn't it?
No, it's fine. If we think about what we're selling, we are selling immortality. Basically, we're selling youth. We're selling, we're removing fear of growing old or feeling infirm and things. And I know how they feel because I pulled my shoulder a week ago, and from literally from being at a standing desk that was slightly too high. That was it. So I understand all of those things. If I was starting out totally new, I would niche down as much as I can to one subsect of those women. ConvertKit did this really well via Nathan Barry.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw his new article, then they're making 15 million a year kind of thing. So the easiest thing to do to get in early on is pick a subset of people. So let's say it was women who were skiing at that certain age. So I would want to know what they're reading, where they are, what are they thinking, so we can get that transformation. And I would then, the first pieces of content I would create are content designed around to sell the product. Why it works, how it helps, then from there. It's not a difficult thing because people buy this kind of stuff all the time. We're just trying to educate them that ours helps do X, Y, Z. You see a lot of collagen and bone broth and things, which is huge in New Zealand right now. I'm seeing ads for. So educating why it's an actual issue and then how to buy. After that, I would, because it is an easy product to sell, and because it's not the product we're selling, it is youth, I would start writing content that would appeal to those people. So about skiing, about women in skiing, things like this. So it might be, it could talk about the best women in skiing who are still going and stuff like this. The reason I might start there is because those people probably have a big audience of their own, and they might send their audience to us. So if we're talking about women who are doing well in skiing at that age and stuff, previous gold medalists and things like this, get them in, do interviews, do features and list posts, all that kind of stuff, get on people's radar of what we do. Right. We might talk about exercise routines so that you can keep going, especially if it ties into some of the supplements that we're doing. So let's say that it was kind of like like a fish oil for joints or something like that. Yeah. So we might talk about an entire series about how to limber up and how to get stronger for skiing. We might talk about how to improve in the off season, all this kind of stuff, and just be a supplement that those women in that industry take, because it'd be very easy to kick the doors in, but it's also, we've planted our flag and people know who we're for and what we do. After that, we could then start going into the summer season. Same women. What do they do in the summer season? Well, they're doing a lot of track. They're doing this and this.
Cycling.
Yeah. So we start writing content about that. Now we're starting to go broader and we're picking up two types of audience, and we can scale from there. And then we just kind of go one circle removed each time. So we're talking to these people, but it's still targeting women of, 30 to 50, active, doing that kind of stuff, if that makes sense.
Oh, it does. It totally. And I don't know if there's any specific, but I totally agree with you to niche in that 50 plus woman market, that active, sporty woman. There's a lot of those type of women in the Lake Tahoe that they move. There's also an area called Truckee, where Squaw Valley is nearby. There's a lot of people that move in the area, and their lifestyle is very sporty to keep active, and their main concern is not financial worries. It's more to avoid injury and avoid deterioration that would not enable them to have that lifestyle.
Exactly. It was an easy question, really, because I used to live up in Whistler in British Columbia.
Right. So you know the type of people then, don't you?
Oh yeah, I would go. So I was 25 at the time, and I would go to the gym in the summer, and there'd be women who in their 40s who were just running rings around me, lifting heavier weights, doing all this stuff. I'm like, where do you get the energy from? And they just go and go and go and go. Well, everyone. And also there's so many Olympic athletes living in the town and things like that. And so you go from there. But yeah, that's the kind of stuff. And that's why your research is so important, because some people might just think, oh, let's position it on price, but they don't care about price. A lot of these people, their house is more expensive than, the majority of people out there. They don't want their season cut short. They don't want to feel older than they you know, than they usually feel. That's why they do these activities and things. So it's, again, really getting in the head of where they are and what they want to do, and then creating content that helps plant your flag. I can give you the example of what we're doing with AMP, if you like. I've got all of our content mapped out. So content promotion is a huge, huge deal, but no one really talks about it. Everyone mentions it. And if you look at the articles, if you Google content promotion, list posts, put it on Twitter, then send an email on Monday, send an email on Friday. So it's a huge topic that everyone is just kind of skimming the surface over. So there's a really big opportunity for us to come in there. Also, it's an important topic to us. But even then, I'm not just talking about content promotion. I just did 30,000 words about paid content promotion. Again, Facebook paid content promotion. I'm not talking about anything else. So my next article is about troubleshooting your Facebook ads. Then it's about scaling your Facebook ads. Then it's a case study with a reader about Facebook ads. So then if anyone says, who's talking about promoting content on Facebook? Boom, those are the people you talk about. Eventually I'll go to AdWords and then YouTube, and then I'll talk about outreach and link building, but it's all about content promotion, but it's even smaller at first so that people can find us and say, these are those people for this thing. So from there.
Yeah, and I think I'm not in any shape or form would say it would be easy, but our example of 50 plus ladies, ski industry, supplements, even in 2019, I still think if you had the chops, it could still be achievable to build an effective brand in that area. I think if somebody came to me and outlined, but had an outline of how to market it in some of the ways that you've just described, it wouldn't be fantasy land stuff, would it?
No, we've actually had, so the membership site we mentioned in the main podcast, we actually have had a member come to us before who sells supplements, milkshakes and things like this to a specific market. And they use the exact same methods, and they are making millions and millions of dollars. You know, it's, the markets are there and the audience is big enough. And when you really focus down, it's very easy to come in. And especially if you follow the techniques. So like content marketing, content promotion is hugely competitive. I think content promotion on its own has like 1.6 billion search results, like when you bring it up in Google. And yet we rank on page 1 for our keyword now, and it's only been 3 months into the site kind of being live. So when you focus and you come in and you actually have that niche authority, it's very easy to come in and do that. It's also very easy to also start making sales, you know, at that point, because you really have said, we're the person who does this for this person. And if you fit that criteria, you're like, well, these are the best people for me. This is the best product for me. So yeah, it's always tempting, isn't it? Getting into supplements and things, especially if you've got the skill sets that we have, because you can just see a market and you'd be like, oh yeah, I could just get a couple of people together. I could get them to write this. I can get them to do this and build this huge thing. But what a big thing for me has been singular focus. So that I kind of, I'll put that idea and I'll put it in a hat and I'll come back to it later on, because I don't move on from a project until the project's doing X, Y, Z. So AMP right now, even though we own other businesses, I'm not doing anything until we get to 100,000 visitors a month. That's my main focus right now. So then I can create supplements or whatever, you know.
It's been a great conversation now. I think we ended it before Danielle melts away. But you have to come back on the show maybe in 6 months and talk about paid traffic and your thoughts around that. That'd be a great conversation. Thank you so much for being part of the show. I've really enjoyed the conversation. I think we've covered a lot of ground, but you managed to give some great tips and insights, and I really appreciate that, Danielle. So we're going to finish the show now, folks, and we'll be back next week with another quality guest like Danielle, giving their experience and knowledge for free to you, audience and listeners. We'll see you next week, folks. Bye.